This is Professional Launch with Ricot Aladin, positively connecting the less connected, bridging gaps, and building futures in the community. Professional Launch with Ricot Aladin.
Hello, professionals. My name is Ricot Aladin, and I'm the founder of Professional Launch and the host of the Professional Launch Show here on WDAY. Today, my guest is the co-author of the book Go Giver. We're having some technical issue. We'll bring him in as soon as that is resolved. But this is Professional Launch, where we help you, young professionals, learn, lead, and launch your career. Today, our guest, with our guest, we will explore how generosity, authenticity, and value creation can transform your professional journey. So, in a quick minute here, as soon as he is able to fix that issue, we will have him on. So, I get to read the book, the Go Giver book myself. Thanks to Christy Huber, who came on the show a few weeks back and gave me the copy of it. It was a fantastic read. It talks about the 5 laws of success, stratospheric success, and one particular small thing that I get, a small definition that I get from the book, is how the authors define network. And your network is not the hundreds of people that you have that you follow on LinkedIn. Your network is it's an army of personal ambassadors. That means people who are thinking about your career, thinking about ways that they can help you, and also you are thinking about ways you can help them. So just because you connect with 1,500 people on LinkedIn doesn't mean that you have a big network. You have to think of it as your network are people that are sending you leads, people that are sending opportunities your way, and you are doing the same for them. And I love that. And I love that definition. An army of your personal ambassadors, people that are thinking about you, people who care about you. These are your network. Me, I like to think of my mentors as my network, even though I have a pretty decent group of people that I connect with on LinkedIn and on social media. But my network really are the people that would shoot me a message, that would let me know about an opportunity, and I do the same for them. If I'm having an event, if I'm having an initiative, I can think about them, how they can be part of it, how they can benefit from it, and that's my network. And so that's although that's not such a small thing, but it's in my view, it's a big thing. Thinking about your network that way. Addison, are we able to get Bob on? Okay. All right. As we are waiting for Bob, I would like to share with you a little bit about a workshop we had a couple of weeks ago. It's about, I talked about this on the show before, BDA of interviews, before, during, and after. And if that is something that you are thinking about, if you have an interview coming up, here are some things that I've learned from HR managers, VP of HRs, and also recruiting managers, what you should do before the interview and what you should do during the interview and what you should do after the interview. Did you know that 33% of candidates failed to look at what the company does when they are applying for a job? If you ask me, that is crazy. And if you are interested of working for a company, the first thing you need to do is research the company. Understand their mission, understand their values, their products, their services, and even look into their culture. So before the interview, the first thing you need to do is research your company, research their mission, their values, learn about their product, their services, before the interview. So BDA of interviews, before the interview, the first thing you need to do is research the company. The second thing you need to do is know the role that you are applying for. That means review the job description. And I know it's like it's you would say it makes sense because that's how you will be able to explain how your skills are a great fit for that position. But according to recruiters, according to HR managers, hiring managers, a lot of candidates, 1 in 3, fail to do that. So that's really not a good thing. And also, the first thing you research your company. The second is know your role, review the job description, practice common interview questions, and prepare your own question. Logistic. So that means you plan your route. Don't get sidetracked by if you have a very important interview. You don't go to interview and apologize saying, "Oh, I was late because of traffic." That's something that you have to plan on being and be ready for that if your route have heavy traffic. Dress appropriately. Gather necessary material, things that you would need during the interview. So you gather them before the interview. So it is, it is upon you. You are responsible to know, to plan for these things. You cannot just um, act like they don't exist or apologize for them when that happen. You have to know where you're going, and if it's online, obviously it's know your equipment. If it says Zoom video, it's an interview. Know your equipment. Make sure that the things are working. Your microphone is working. Make sure that you can hear your audio is working. All of these are part of your preparation for the interview. So that is before the interview. So let me recap that. Before the interview, what you do, you research the company, you know your role, review the job description, and prepare your questions. Very, very important. Prepare your question. Never leave an interview without asking a question. Um, and also, the last part is, logistic. Prepare know your route, plan your route, and dress appropriately. Gather the materials that you think you might need. Uh, okay. So that was the before. Now, during the interview, did you know that uh, communication, most of communication, 70 to 80% of communication sometimes are nonverbal. So that means it will be body language. It will be how you present yourself, and that makes a big difference. So during the interview, first impression count can go a long way. Arrive on time. Dress professionally and greet your interviewer or your interviewers with a firm handshake. So we talk about body language, maintain eye contact, smile, sit upright, and there's a big part of during the interview is communication. So you got to be very clear and concise, and try to be as confident as you can doing that, because sometimes you might be getting an interview and you feel intimidated by the interviewer. So try to be as confident as you possibly can, before while you are during the interview. So your answers. There is a method that I've heard of. It's called the STAR method. So that means structure your answers to behavioral question like situation, task, action, and results. So we will eventually make another video on this just to give you more, to tell you a little bit more about that. And active listening. So really engage in the conversation. And if you hear something you not fully understand, try to paraphrase it, and so that you can make sure you listen to what's being said in the interview, and asking follow-up questions also. So asking follow-up question, nod for engagement, paraphrasing, and all of these are really shows that you are trying to understand. You are listening, and you want to understand what is being said in the interview. Okay. So we're gonna take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We'll be right back. We are back today. We are Our guest is Bob Burg. He is the co-author of Go Giver. We'll be exploring how generosity, authenticity, and value creation can transform your professional journey. And so, Bob, uh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so great to be with you. I know we had a difficult time connecting,
Yes.
but we finally did make it, and it's just such an honor to be with you. And I love that you're in Fargo. I've in my I guess when I was on the road speaking for 35 years, I think I only spoke in Fargo maybe 3 or 4 times, but I always enjoyed it so much. I always said, the weather's cold up there, but the people are very warm.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I love that. I love that. Well, Bob, this book, I am so grateful for Christy for giving me the book. And
I
I
love
get,
Christy. She's
yeah,
great.
she is such an awesome professional. I'm grateful for her for giving me the book, but I'm grateful for you for writing it. Let's really go back. So, I guess my first question is, what inspired you to write The Go Giver, and how did you arrive at the idea that success is rooted in giving and not getting?
Well, when my co-author John David Mann and I really discussed this, we wanted to, and we both had a background as entrepreneurs. Before he basically became a writer, and myself a speaker, and I had authored some other books, and he authored a bunch of books, and we really just kind of got together on this and said, what are the basic principles of success that people have always used, since time immemorial, or as I guess for as long as there have been market economies. And what are the principles people have used, whether they knew they were using it or not? What are those commonalities? And it didn't matter what age they were. It didn't matter the level of experience. It didn't matter what type of job. Uh, those have to do with strategies, techniques, tactics. These are the principles that are used.
Mm-hmm.
These um, universal laws of success, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we came up with these five that successful people use, and used. So there's really nothing new about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that they had to use all five of these every time if they were going to have a sustainably successful career, and generally sustainably successful life. So that was really it. And then we decided to put it into a parable form instead of a how-to book. All of my books before then had been how-to books, and I'm not a parable writer certainly, but John is just a brilliant writer. So he was really the lead writer and storyteller, and again, his background was a successful entrepreneur. So that's really how we came up with that idea. We thought it was a book that the marketplace was ready for. Uh, we knew that people wanted more than just this is how to succeed in business, but it was almost like it what we heard from people, Rico,
Mm-hmm.
that it gave them permission in a sense to operate their business according to their values and their value system, because it's human nature that we want to make a difference in the world. We want to make a difference in people's lives. As business people, and as the young business people who are, viewing this and listening to this, there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's everything right about that. And it just so happens that in a free market based economy, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one's forced to do business with anyone else. Okay, so while we're not totally a free market economy, it's based on that.
Yeah.
And the best thing someone can know is if you want people to do business with you, you're going to have to find a way to add value to their lives. And that's beautiful,
Yes.
because I think that's what we want to do. Right? That's what
Yeah.
most people want to do. So say, "Oh, this is great." So what Berg and Mann are saying in this book is not I can be successful despite doing things the right way, but I can be successful because I'm doing things the right way.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, I mean, obviously, the five laws of stratospheric success is really the obvious, part of the book that I think everybody can jump on. But when after reading the book, one of the I got to share one of the things that it's a small definition, but for me that makes a big difference. It's the way you define network.
Ah, ah.
So network your an army of your personal ambassadors. That for me that really make it the read. Give me all the reason that I needed to read the book, because uh, you know you might think I talk about this before hard network, but you might think that because you have 1,500 people on LinkedIn as connection, you think that you have a big network. That is when I we see this, I say this is so true, because when I think about who are my network after reading this, when I think about my network, I'm thinking about my mentors, people that are thinking about me, and I'm thinking about them, sending them leads or thinking about them for a speaking opportunity, thinking about them for an event, and also if they are looking for to hire new talent, how I can come in and help them within that sense also. And so it's really that definition, and only a few words, but it makes a big difference in the way I think about network. And so,
Yeah, and and you do it so well,
mhm,
and and as I've begun following you, on LinkedIn, which is where we're connected. You do this so well, and you're the very embodiment of this. And we can even stretch out the definition of networking, if
mhm.
you'd like to say it's the cultivating of mutually beneficial give
There
and
you go.
receive win-win relationships. The
that's
emphasis is on the give part, the
That's
giving
a
of
very
value.
polished way to say. Very nice.
And
Well,
that's what you do, and
yes.
that's what Christine does too.
Hmm. So, Bob, please introduce and briefly unpack the five laws, to give the audience like a quick framework on
Sure.
on the five laws of stratospheric success. You know.
Sure. The five laws themselves are the laws of value,
Mm-hmm,
compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity.
mm-hmm.
The first one, the law of value, says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take or receive in payment. Now, this sounds a little counterintuitive when you first hear it. Give more in value than I take in payment, but won't I go broke? Isn't that a recipe for bankruptcy?
Yeah.
So we simply have to understand the difference between price and value.
Yeah.
See, price is a dollar figure, it's a dollar amount, it's finite, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for this and be glad they did, right?
Yeah.
Feel great about it
Mm-hmm.
while you also make a very healthy profit. So, really, what we're talking about is making the buying experience so wonderful, so unique, so fantastic, so easy, so joyful, right?
Mm-hmm.
That even aside from the intrinsic value of your product or service, causes this person to feel like they receive much more than they paid for, while of course you also make a very, very good profit.
Yeah.
So that's really what law number one is all about. And you do this through a combination of excellence and consistency, attention, empathy,
Yeah.
and appreciation, right? And so that's really, that's a kind of a summation of law one. Now, law two, the law of compensation, says your income is determined by how many people you serve
Yeah.
and how well you serve them. So where law number one says give more in value, right? You make the buying experience so wonderful. Law number two takes it a step further. It says that it's to the degree that you serve more and more people, right?
Yep.
That your income will be extended, that you'll make a higher income. So it's not enough to just serve one person.
Yeah.
You've also got to, right, expand. And that's why referrals are such a wonderful way to do this, referrals and introductions from your personal walking ambassadors,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Law number 3, the law of influence, says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, not in a self-sacrificial way or being a doormat or a martyr. We're not talking about that. When we say place other people's interests first, we simply mean understanding that, as Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business, of sales, of networking, right, as you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
is simply this. It's that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust.
Trust. Yeah.
And there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from an I focus or me focus that most people have, right,
Mm-hmm.
to a focus on others, a focus on them. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Joe, it's making your win all about the other person's win.
Yeah.
Law number 4 is the law of authenticity. And this one says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. In this part of the story, uh, the mentor in this part, her name was Deborah Davenport. She shared a very important lesson, and that is all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all very, very important,
Yeah.
they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. Excuse me. Oh, what a wonderful time to sneeze.
Bless.
So, but when you do come at it, right, from your true authentic core, when you show up as yourself,
Yeah.
day after day, week after week, month after month. Well, not only do people feel good about you, Ricot,
Mm-hmm.
they feel great about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They know exactly who they're getting. Now, there is one thing, if I may say this, and I think this applies to everyone of all ages, but especially younger people, because I think lately, maybe over the last 10 years or so, I guess, uh, the term authenticity has almost been hijacked to have a different meaning than what I think the real one is. And it's sort of almost like, the younger people have been taught, well, to be authentic, it means you have no boundaries. Just say or do whatever you want, talk to people however you want, show up however you want, use whatever language you want. And I disagree. I respectfully disagree with that. It's sort of like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot, and if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. That's it's simply, what it means is this person has an authentic problem
Mm.
that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, more effective, higher authentic version of themselves. So no, we never want to confuse authenticity with not having boundaries, or authenticity with being rude, or authenticity as not growing and becoming better. I personally define authenticity as simply acting congruently with your values, and I think if you do that, then you're being authentic. And then law number 5 is the law of receptivity. And
Mm.
this one's difficult for a lot of people. The law of receptivity says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. What
Mm.
does that mean? Well, really, it means nothing more than understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
it's both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they
Mm.
work in tandem with one another.
Mm.
And so, unfortunately, the world around us gives us so many negative, anti prosperity, anti money, anti-abundance type of messages that it can really get into a person's subconscious, and they end up, they reject, and again, they're doing this unconsciously, not consciously,
Yeah.
but they end up pushing away and rejecting the kind of financial success and other types of success and the things that they've earned, right? And so I think it's really important to, especially for young people today, to really make a study of prosperity, because the anti-prosperity garbage it comes in all the time,
Yeah.
and whether it's a combination of, upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, popular culture, social media, all these horrible anti-prosperity messages. So my belief is, look for and study the prosperity experts out there. And there's so many who do such a great job. People like Randy Gage, people like Sharon Lecter, people like Ellen Rogan, people like Lisa Peterson, people like David Nagel, people like Ken Honda. These people, they write books and they have blogs and they do videos and the whole bit. So, look those people up and start studying those people, because what we know, what you put your focus on is what you're going to attract, right? There's nothing magical about that, nothing mystical about that. If you focus on anti-prosperity garbage, well, that's what's going to come in. If you focus on pro prosperity and abundance, that's what's going to come in.
So I was gonna ask before we go to the next to our next commercial break here, to the next break. I was gonna ask which of these five laws tend to be the hardest. Do you think receptivity is the hardest?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We John and I hear that from people all the time,
Okay.
and it's one of the things in the Go Giver that they kind of thank us for, because in that chapter, right, it's where we kind of bring this up. But again,
Yeah.
it's a parable, so you can only go so deep
Mhm.
into a parable.
Yeah.
And that's why, I suggest really looking at these prosperity experts, these who do such a wonderful ongoing job of, and they go very deep into this topic.
Wonderful. We're gonna take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be right back. We are back. Today, we are talking to the co author of an international bestseller book, Go Giver. Uh, Bob Burg is in the studio. Well, not in the studio. We are doing this virtually, but uh, he's with me here for a conversation about, the book and how that book can serve young professionals who are just starting out, launching their careers. Now, Bob, we were just talking about the five laws of success, and uh, I want to know what this platform is about. It's for those who are just launching their careers, how they can uh, do that the best way they can do that. And so the people that we bring on the show is really to give them advice, give them guidance in launching their careers. So now, for someone who's just starting out there in their careers, how can they apply the law of value, giving more value than they take in payments, even if they are new or in entry level?
Sure. There's always, first, it begins with just a focus on doing that. It's asking yourself the question,
Mm-hmm.
what can I add to this person's life, to their business, to their daily routine, what have you? So it's always looking not for what you can get, it's always looking for what you can give. And who knows what that is, right? It just depends on if you're in a company,
Mm-hmm.
the people on your team, what can you do to make their life easier? Your supervisor, certainly. It's going out of your way to make the client or customer experience as delightful as possible. So it's really just, and so you don't have to have a lot of experience to do that. You just keep asking yourself the question, how can I make other people's lives better? How, really, it's how can I be of value?
Yeah,
You ask that question enough, and you'll come up with the answers.
yeah. So as professionals, I always say we are called to serve. So how can I serve better today? How can I? Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So let's look at the law of compensation. Says your income depends on how many people you serve and how well. So what does that look like for young professionals who still building their network?
Sure. Well, of
Mhm.
course, if they're an entrepreneur, that's where scaling comes in.
Yeah.
Right? That's where business development and meeting more and more people who can
Mhm.
connect you to more and more people who can do eventually do business with you directly. Now, if you're in a company working with someone else, how do you extend your reach so that you're touching the lives of more and more people within the company?
Mm.
So, it's sort of, the law of value is all about quality. The law of compensation is about quantity.
Mm.
And there are too many people who say, oh, don't worry about the quantity, just the quality. No, that's incomplete. It's an either or, right? And typically, and we try to make this point in the book, that it's not about ors, it's about ands.
Mhm.
So yes, you focus on the quality, certainly, of course, but you also understand quantity is important as well,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So you touch lives, and you touch lives in the most value-based way you can, but keep expanding that reach.
So,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
so I was going to say,
Mhm.
so these people with whom you have these great relationships, these are the people who can introduce you to others. These are people who can clear the way for you to be able to meet other people.
Mhm.
And this is where and again, you brought this up earlier, which I love that you did this because you embody this so well, and that is being, developing your army of personal walking ambassadors.
I love this. Well, so in a competitive work environment, how can somebody embody the law of influence, putting others' interests
Mm,
first without
mm,
being taken advantage of? I know you kind of mentioned
sure.
that briefly earlier, so can you
Yeah.
kind of elaborate more on
Yeah.
that?
Well, it's a great question because I think when people hear, and
Mm-hmm.
even though I did say that, I
Mm-hmm.
think people still hear place other people's interests first and they
Yeah.
say, oh, you mean at my detriment? No, of course,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like to say is, there is no, uh, there is no dichotomy between focusing on other people and their interests and serving your own interests as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, to the degree that you serve others' interests, that's the degree it comes back to you. For example, let's take this in two different ways. If you have your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, well, here's something you'll find out really quickly. Nobody's going to buy from you because you need the money, right? They're not
That's that is so
they're not gonna
true.
buy from right, they're not gonna buy from you because you have a sales goal to
Yeah.
meet. They're not even gonna buy from you just because 'cause you're a really nice person, even though
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah.
No, they're gonna buy from you because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're an employee with a company, maybe you're not an entrepreneur, but you're an intrapreneur,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're an entrepreneur within another organization, and
Mm-hmm.
that's fine too. But nobody's going to hire you and keep paying you a salary because you want to buy your house, or because you have a rent payment to meet, or because
Yeah.
you're just about to get married and have a family. No, they
Mm-hmm.
don't care. Right? They're gonna hire you and keep paying you and raise your salary and advance you and promote you because they see you as someone who is making their life better. So by putting other people's interests first, you're actually taking care of your own. Now, let's go back to the being taken advantage part.
Yeah.
If you suspect that's happening, or if you feel that's happening, well, don't let yourself fall into that trap. There are people out there who, rather than being go givers, they're what John and I call go takers,
Mm.
right? And all they're interested in is what they can take from you, right? Without
Mm-hmm.
right. So you don't want to do that. And so you'll need to be able to set limits and tactfully and diplomatically not take on things that they ask you to do necessarily, or whatever the case may be. But
Mm-hmm.
no, you certainly make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you're able to be taken advantage of.
Yeah. That's okay. So I have one more question for this segment, but we'll ask it after. We're gonna take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be right back. We are back today. We are talking to the co-author of the book Go Giver, a very short and wonderful read for the weekend if you are looking for something fun to do. And I promise you won't regret it because that was one of my best reads so far uh,
Wow.
this year. So uh, Thank you so much, Bob, for writing this book, and thank the
John
co-author,
David Mann.
John
Yeah.
David Mann, also.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words about that. Coming from you, that is, wow, such a wonderful compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it's again, the characters in the book, we didn't get to address that, but that's something that I find really amazing. I always want to know what happened to that next guest that Joe's gonna meet. It's really that keeps me reading the. That's why I say it's a quick read. It's a short read because you're gonna want to know what happened next with the next person, next day, or the next lunch. What happened at the next lunch? I think that was really captivating in the book.
Thank
And
you.
so
Yeah,
we were,
John. Oh,
yeah,
excuse me. Go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna ask the other question from the last segment, but
Sure. Sure.
yeah. So I was gonna ask, how can young professionals practice authenticity while adapting to a different corporate culture and expectation? And I know you kind of mentioned authenticity quite a bit in the previous
Yeah.
segment. So if you could elaborate on that a little bit more.
This is where it's really important to
Mm-hmm.
know what your values are, to
Yeah.
know what your operating values are. And this is something that a lot more people are writing about lately, which I'm really glad to see, because a value, again, we talked about the relative worth or desirability of a thing. Well, that's what a personal value is too.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that in your life, in your mind, in your heart is of such high worth to you that it's something that you're going to live your life according to these values, and anything you might say, anything you might do, you're going to ask yourself the question, is this in alignment with my value system?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when you know your values, and again, it's not just a matter of saying, oh, I value this or I value that. Really seek out some books and videos or whatever that really take you through this, and really know your values, your highest value, and the ones that maybe rank a little lower and lower. But what are those ones that are absolutely immutable, unchangeable, that you right? And and decisions become much easier when you know your values.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean, by the way, that the decision is going to be a comfortable one, because it might in the short term not be as advantageous, but in the long term it will be, and it will increase your personal happiness, because you're acting congruently with what you believe. But
Wonderful.
typically though, the more you're just because I don't want to scare anyone off by saying that, but
Yeah.
it's a difference if honesty and integrity and doing right by your customer, making their lives better, is a high value to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then that even if you could leave out or omit something about the product or service that they should know about, right? And well, you're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be totally upfront and let them know exactly the pros, cons, and so forth, if that's a high value of yours.
Mm.
And might it cost you a sale? Maybe. But you know what? First, you're going to make a lot more sales because of it,
Yeah.
because of the respect that person has for you. But also, inside, you
Mm.
feel good about yourself. And to the degree you feel good about yourself, that's the degree that you're more confident and you're much more effective.
Bob, we have just a few minutes left for the show. I have a few more questions, but I'm gonna try
Sure.
to kind of compact them. What
Okay.
are a few go-giver actions someone could take in their first week on a new job to build trust and stand out?
Well, in the story, Joe was challenged by Pindar, who was the main mentor,
Mm-hmm.
to take every one of those laws and apply it that day. So let's say someone did the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they made sure that on Monday they were going to somehow apply the law of value, which is simply that you give more in value than what you take in payment or what have you. So what can you do to really provide value to another person? Again, whether it's your boss, whether it's a supervisor, whether it's some your organization, whether it's a peer,
Mm-hmm.
what happened? Two, the law of compensation. How can you expand and increase the number of people whose lives you touch? Joe did it in the story by serving coffee to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a touch. So again, it doesn't. You don't have to worry about doing it perfectly or about it being financially profitable or anything. Those things come.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you want to just practice, you just ask yourself that question. How can I be more influential by putting someone's interests ahead of mine?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, it, um, On day 4, on Thursday, it's authenticity. On Friday, it's receptivity, and it might be that you find yourself open to advice or someone's counseling or to a suggestion
Mm-hmm.
that somebody gives you. So sure, just do just what Joe did
Mm.
and find ways to apply those without having to be perfect. There's no pressure. It should be a good experience for you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Bob. I think that's a good spot to take this opportunity to thank you for today. I am honored to have you on the show. So your work is wonderful and it's touching a lot of lives. Um, it feels good to go and give. Let's just say that to give. I give value because when you serve others, there's something significant about that. There's something that is deep about that. So your work, I really appreciate your work, and I promise myself I have it on my list to dig deeper in other books that you have written,
Oh,
so that
thank you.
I can be a little bit better at this. So
Well, I think you're doing just great. So
thank you,
thank
thank
you for all you're doing and the value you're providing so many people.
wonderful, thank you, Joe. I have to remind everybody that Professional Launch is a nonprofit organization, and therefore we heavily rely on partners, on friends, on guests to continue our operation. If you have supported us in the past, we are so grateful. If not, go on professionallaunch.org and see all the ways you can support us. Know that your support means the world to us. We appreciate that. Now, this is the part that I tell you. It's up to you to make today a great day. Have a great day.